Thanks for tuning into the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more hip hop news and, of course, coming off that amazing verses or what uh, appeared to be a bit underwhelming verses from Cash Money and No Limit. I had a topic that I wanted to do actually before they did the verses, but I wanted to talk about it now about Mia X and her influence on an hip hop artist that is more influential than she is and a bigger artist. But it's just to show you the root of things and how things came to fruition as far as that artist's career. And I'm talking about Little Kim. So I read an article online that said Biggie met Mia X at an airport and she handed him one of her mixtapes, the White Tape EP, and he listened to it and he was inspired to develop his own female artist, which later to became known as Little Kim. Now, Mia X and Lil Kim have a lot of similarities as far as content, as far as sexual content in the music, as far as content, as far as vulgarity in their music. And they kind of sound similar a little bit if you listen to it. And I had a chance to listen to a lot more Mia X's music even before the verses and just to compare a little bit. And I did the timelines to just, because this article wasn't verified or anything, but the timelines do add up because Mia X's career links all the way back to 1984, while Lil Kim's career links back to 1994. So Mia X appeared to be active 10 years before Lil Kim, and she's a little bit older than Kim, I do believe. But Mia X's first album released in '93, and then Kim's released in '94, and that's because I think in the '80s it was a little bit difficult to come out, and then Mia X didn't have the backing that Lil Kim had, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. But of course, this story was not depicted in the Notorious biopic because they couldn't fit every piece in there if this story is true. But maybe one day it'll be covered in a No Limit biopic because we still doesn't don't have one of those, which we definitely need one of those because their story needs to be told as well, coming out of New Orleans and coming out of the Calio projects, uh, Master P going to California and then coming back with all the glamour and all of the superstardom and taking it back home and him putting a lot of people on from his neighborhood. So I definitely want to see that story to see how they met, the struggles they had and things like that. Because in the '90s, they ran the '90s, of course, with Cash Money as far as rap groups goes. But back then, the South didn't get a lot of credit. But that's just a side note. But both of these artists um, came out of the biggest rap camps in the '90s, and being one of the few female members of their group, they really held their own. So Little Kim wasn't signed to Bad Boy, but her being affiliated with Biggie, she had a lot of production and help from Diddy's team, The Hitman, and she had a lot of resources at her disposal because of her relationship with Biggie. On the flip side, you had Mia X, who was a part of No Limit, a huge group, and she was actually signed to No Limit. Now, there was another female in the group, Mercedes, but Mia X was, so to speak, the centerpiece as far as the female rapper goes. Now, Mia X was on a part of a lot of their biggest songs, like Make 'Em Say, and as you've seen from the verses, she was a part of, I Got the Hookup movie. She was in the Bout It movie. She was in the Last Don movie and a bunch of other movies that No Limit had, but these movies didn't have the backing that Bad Boy had because of Diddy or Puff Daddy at the time. So she wasn't put out there in the forefront like Lil Kim just because she didn't have that huge backing and support that he had. Now, Master P had a lot of money and had things like that, but he did things on a smaller level, it felt like, especially with his movies. Um, the biggest movie he had was probably I Got the Hookup, which Mia X was in as well. She did a great job in that movie. And she seems to be aging backwards now because she looks even younger now than she did back then, which is crazy to think about. But Mia X was a star of her group, especially from the female side. But of course, Lil Kim gets credit for um, the influence on artists that she has today, like the Nicki Minaj's and Cardi B's and things like that. But when you think about the root of everything, Mia X can be traced to all of that because if she was rapping like this in the '80s, which it wasn't even popular back then, the most that you had people talking about sex and music was probably Salt and Pepper when they had their few songs about it, but it was in a positive light. It wasn't really vulgar. So Mia X was a trendsetter from the musical standpoint, and she influenced a lot of artists today. When you hear artists like a Sexy Red, or you hear artists like even a Doja Cat, the music, the type of things that they talk about, and having the comfortability to talk about these things without any recourse or without any backlash. Um, well, it's still going to be backlash, but minimal backlash. It's more acceptable today than it was back in the '80s, of course. But look, Mia X also didn't have the in-house producers that Lil Kim had at her disposal. Lil Kim had, the Hitman, which was Stevie J and those guys, and she had access to these other big producers that Biggie had access to. Mia X really didn't have that. She had in-house producers mostly from her group, in-house producers with lesser names. So while Mia X is not a household name, I believe she is influential behind the scenes. She just don't get a lot of credit for it because South artists really didn't get a lot of credit back then, i.e., Outkast at the Source Awards in 1995 when they were talking about, they were the only group from Atlanta really getting recognition and not getting enough credit. So, you know, she just came out in the wrong time period. But I think if Mia X was out today, she would have been a huge star because of the access and the social media aspect too. And she wouldn't be drowned out by, a bunch of other members like Master P and Mystical and C Murder and Silk the Shocker, even members like that. I believe she would be able to stand on her own. But back then, she was ahead of her time as far as the musical content goes, even the look that she had, it was ahead of her time. If she was out now, and I believe if she still would release a project, it'll do very well, just because for one, the verses aspect, but then two, the lyrical content, and for the group that she has that has grown up the fan base, they still need her music. So hopefully she will release that soon. But as always, until next time, I'll see you next time.